Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news. And welcome back to Issues in Education. Mondays, during the Noon Report, we spotlight the issues impacting our schools with Dr. Ralph Kerr at the Teaching and Learning Institute. And Ralph, so many issues to talk about today. Our first show in several months. But first off, welcome back to the program, sir. We have definitely missed you. Hope you had a wonderful summer.
We did have a great summer, Bob, and it's great to be back with you. As I went through the summer, I kept thinking, boy, that would be a good issue to talk with Bob about. That would be a great issue to talk with Bob about. And so here we are, ready to do it again, and I'm grateful for that.
We'll take them in order of importance, maybe. We don't know, but there are certainly a lot of issues, but this will air every Monday this fall, so if we don't get to all the topics this week, well, there's always next week. The migrant crisis is one of the top issues affecting our schools, no doubt about it. 21,000 migrant children enrolled in the largest school system in the country, New York City. The state says those children do not have to adhere to the same immunization rules as everyone else, not yet anyhow. Want to ask you, Ralph, why is that, and what are the challenges schools everywhere in New York are going to be facing this fall because of those fresh faces in the classroom?
Well, you know, the rules in both New York and Pennsylvania state very plainly every student entering public, private, or parochial school will be required to be vaccinated. And in most situations, the parents have a week or 10 days to comply with that, and then if that doesn't happen, they will actually be rejected from continuing to attend. Now, in New York State, even though as recently as last week, the Commissioner of Education and the Attorney General said in a letter that they must comply with that rule. Apparently that's changed now and says they will have a little longer to comply, but I can't really see superintendent of schools after a month or so saying to, in this case in New York City, 21,000 children, you can't come to school anymore. I mean, that would just add to the chaos that is already going to be there.
Yeah.
Just think about it, Bob, where you now have students coming and you need maybe 15 different languages to be spoken by people in the staff. I saw the governor in New York say the other day that some of the children were from Mauritania. I don't even know where that is.
Yeah.
But they're looking for somebody that can speak that language.
Yeah.
It's not funny, but it really is, because it's hopeless, really, to put that onto the public school system at this point.
And I know it's more of a big city problem right now, but there are some communities upstate. I know Rochester has dozens of migrant children enrolled in the school system there. The challenges that we're facing already with the teacher shortage just compounding that now, because now the school districts are going to need teachers that can speak not just one other language, but multiple other languages.
Right.
We'll check back in on this one in a little while and see how things are going there, Ralph. But I want to talk about another major issue, and that's the bus driver shortage. We saw this last week in West Seneca, New York, a suburb of Buffalo. 400 students showed up at the bus stop the first morning of school last Thursday for a bus that never came. It never showed up. Parents had to take time off from work to take their kids to school. Just a mess there in West Seneca. Talk about what the bus system is like now with the driver shortage in New York. This was a crisis last year. Is it worse this year?
Yes, it really is, and I feel badly for everybody involved in that West Seneca situation. That's a major faux pas on the part of the school district, because normally bus routes are published in the fall newsletter. That should have been taken care of, but obviously it wasn't, and it just is a really bad situation. So many districts are just plain short drivers. It's a tough profession for somebody to take on, because they have a route maybe first thing in the morning, which is very early, and then there's nothing to do the rest of the day, so they go home and then are expected to come back. So it's really a split shift operation, which is certainly not ideal. And then in addition to that, you've got the behavior of the students on the bus. It's a real tragedy right now what's happening, and unfortunately it results in this kind of thing like it did in West Seneca last week.
Well, talking buses, Ralph, we would be remiss not to bring up school bus safety. Those yellow buses are out and about, as they say. If you would, I know we've talked about this before, but it bears reminding because sometimes we forget the rules of the road when it comes to not just motorists, but the children who ride the bus to school.
Yeah, well, obviously for the children, it's good for their parents to just remind them that the driver is in charge of what happens both entering and leaving the bus, and so they need to pay very close attention to what the driver of the bus is saying. For the drivers, it's really simple in 3 words: do not pass. The buses would have on flashing lights. Most of them now have stop signs that come out on the side of the bus, and the penalties are really stiff. In New York State, for instance, you can get 5 points put on your license, a $400 fine, and you could be put in jail for a period of time. And in Pennsylvania, there's a $250 fine, and it could be a 60-day suspension of your license. And again, the 3 words are do not pass.
Yes, indeed. And we are going to talk about one more topic because it's so important. You know, those COVID cases, Ralph, are climbing again. This, like the flu, is now with us. I heard the CDC director just say the other day, we have got to learn to live with COVID. It's going to be around forever now. But they are climbing again. And as, you know, kids start to congregate in classrooms, especially as, you know, colder weather comes, we're going to see those cases skyrocket. So it begs the question, are the masks coming back? What do you think, Ralph?
Well, I certainly hope not. I guess where I stand on that is if people want to wear a mask and do it voluntarily, I think that's perfectly fine. And again, that should be a decision that's made by each family for their children. But I certainly hope that the state doesn't get into mandating masks again for school children this winter.
All right, and that's where we'll leave it this week. But hey, if you have questions about any of the issues discussed today on Issues in Education, or you'd simply like to know what is the Teaching and Learning Institute anyway, Ralph, where can folks go to learn more?
They can simply go to our website, which is whyrun.org, whyrun.org.